Hi, you guys. So today we are doing a talk back with the cast from Quarter Life Crisis. So if you can just introduce yourself and which character you played in the series.
Hi, I'm Tyra Hughes and I played Sage.
Hi, my name is Chris Philemon, and I played Brandon.
Hi, I'm Shayla Tyler, and I played mom to Sage.
Hi, I'm Amanda Keaton and I played Ripley.
Hey guys, I'm Coleman Thompson and I play Forrest.
Yay. So to get things started off, if you can remember, this was filmed 2 years ago, and I just wanted to know what was your experience filming? Was it your first time filming, or was it your first time being on a student set? Like how was that experience for all of you?
I can start.
Oh,
So I I started acting 2 years ago. So Quarter Life Precious was my first like booked gig. So it was like my first thing I've ever done. And I remember like being really excited for the audition and then also like being really thankful for you guys for giving me the chance to play Ripley. So I was like super excited. It was like my first ever thing to do, but I had a really good experience.
Yeah, so for me, Quarter Life Crisis was one of the many student productions that I've done. But I just remember just from the first day on set, like everything being super professional. Just the notes I was being given, what I was expected to do coming in on set when we had to transition between scenes. There was very clear direction, what I was being asked to do, where I was being asked to go. So really, I felt like I just had to come in and do my lines and the rest would take care of itself because I was just given so much information beforehand. I was really prepared, lots of direction. My bosses were my bosses and I had no problem just doing what I needed to do because everything was so well run. I really loved the set experience.
yeah. So Quarter Life Crisis was the second student-led like production I've done, but it was the first like TV production I did. So I would say it was a lot of fun because it was like my first time being like an actor in a TV show. I had I'm like not really a stranger to the camera because like I've had a YouTube channel since I was like able to have a YouTube channel. So yeah, but I think it was a learning experience for sure because I've done theater when I was younger, but like I think theater acting is a little bit different than like acting for the screen. So kind of learning to adjust that. And I think being on set and in the production was a very important experience for me as well because I think I had spent like most of my teenage years kind of not really sharing, I guess, like my artistry with people, like in real life. Like I did it online, but like in real life, I kind of like hid it and I was more of like a writer and like journalist and stuff.
Mhm.
Um, so I think it was sort of a role that allowed me to kind of like allow people to see me fully, which was nice. And also there were just so many like coincidences that happened throughout like the process. Like Lauren and I are both Pisces, and I think our birthdays are like 3 days apart. And our dads have the same birthday for some reason,
Yeah.
which is so cool to me. And there,
We
there's
have the
literally
same
more.
we
We
have the
live in
same
the
shoe
same
size.
building that
That too.
semester as well.
Yeah.
It was just so many cool things. So I think it was sort of like a stars aligning sort of thing that I got the role. So I think yeah, it's pretty cool.
I guess I'll hop in here and say that a very interesting experience, another kind of like stars aligning moment, I would say, Tyra, too. For me, I had never worked on, let me just make sure, let me think through. I had never worked on a student project with currently enrolled students. I don't know if that makes sense, right? Because sometimes you have like, I guess independent projects, but people are still kind of studying, but it's independent study. So it was my first time on set, especially with like NYU undergrads. And I studied with a lot of instructors and coaches that were also professors and teachers at NYU. So it was interesting to see like what was happening, right, in the university versus what's happening in conservatory. Um, And I thought incredibly professional. I work a lot in production when I'm not on screen. And so I felt like you guys were on the money. I remember saying to Lauren, like, girl, you can get out there and like make some checks. You're good. Like, get out there, get on some bigger sets and, get your eyes on just different environments. But I was inspired. I was extremely accommodated, and I appreciated that because this role of mom came right after me birthing my first child. Not my shift into, I know not my shift into parenthood, but my first child I didn't birth, but it was an interesting time because I was totally on set, like, listen, I just need somewhere to pump. Like, time is very specific. And I have a daughter. And so it was meeting the character while the character wasn't in a healthy place, just like sitting there with, a daughter and being like, oh my gosh, one day my daughter's going to be this age. It was nice being able to meet the character there and to just kind of show up on screen like that with such vulnerability. I think mother, daughter, or I mean any parent, right? They're like these relationships on screen that are immediately to get to that level of vulnerability is can be challenging. Parent to child, couples, intimate scenes. And so when I met Tyra, she was incredibly vulnerable and just so I guess that like you have a naivete to you, but I didn't even know whether I was meeting Tyra or the character. And so that made Set Life fun too.
Um, I guess it's my turn. I'll say that I definitely commend, production. To piggyback off what the others were saying, like it was really well organized and it made me hyper just focus on what I had to do in performing. It made everything easier. I knew where to be, what to do. The coaching was great as well, from our director and, from her team. So it was a great experience. It was actually my first time on any set. I had been to acting school, took a couple classes, and I've been submitting, and this is the first callback I've gotten. And for a first, it was definitely memorable. And yeah.
Wow. I don't know, it's very refreshing to hear from each of your experiences. How would you compare? Well, okay, before I get to that actually, how is it dealing with different directors and then me as a showrunner? And you can be brutally honest if I was horrible. But I'd hope not. Because I remember there were certain days where we would have like three different directors, maybe even two, like just kind of switching out throughout the day.
I mean, I don't really have a problem with that because every episode requires something different. And you see that's the case with shows that we see on TV on like HBO or like CBS or whatnot, like actual like television shows. There are different directors for different episodes because every episode requires something different. So you just learn to be adjustable and be malleable. You don't just stick so hard to what you've prepared. You learn to listen and take what you understand about the character along with, okay, this director has this direction for this day. This director has another direction for another day. So as long as you are adjustable and you know how to go with what you're being told and you blend what you're told with your understanding of the character, it really is simple to just slot in and do with whatever you're asked, understanding that what you're being asked that day or for that episode lends itself to a full creative vision of what the whole series or the whole season's about. And that's the showrunner's job is for. That's what your job is, Lauren, right? Like making sure your different directors give their different directions and different visions for where each character in each episode is supposed to go and trusting that it's all going to blend in together. So I know how to follow what I'm being told. I know what I'm asked to do and I know what the character brings. So as long as there's clear direction from each director for each episode and then you know where everything's going, it's really easy. Not a problem at all.
Yeah, I agree with Coleman, and I will also add that I think that for every time we switched directors, what made it like easy for me is that everyone was passionate about what they were directing. They brought that same that same coaching, and it almost felt like whoever was directing was like their personalities kind of fit the scene, and they just fully dove into it, making it seamless transition.
Yeah, I guess I'll hop in there. I don't know if I had any, like, I feel like when I would hear other people and they're like, oh, we were here earlier and then we just got back here. I feel like all my scenes were kind of like in one place. So yeah, I felt like the direction was very freeing for the performers, and it kind of felt like it was focused more on the technicality side, just making sure, like I guess, the schedule was tight. So a lot of it seemed just to make sure that like, did we get everything and we need to have? And then if there was room to play, then I got to see some directors stretch, them, what their perspective or how they were reading the scene in different ways. But yeah, I mean, just like Coleman said, you work with different directors all the time. It's on screen, or storytelling is a collaborative project unless you're doing a one-person show. Like, it's all about coming to the table with something, but not being tied down to it.
How was it for you, Tyra? Because I know, like, I think the first day we had you do like it was scenes from like three different episodes or something like that. And it was so, I mean, it was a lot for the first day, I think. Everything else was like a little bit more smooth. Maybe it was also just like us as a crew knowing how hectic things were, and you as actors just being like, yes, I'm gonna go and do my thing.
I don't remember it being hectic for me. I really don't remember, to be honest. I don't think it was hectic. I think I would have remembered if I felt like frazzled. But I think because I've been like watching like each episode like as it's been uploaded, and I do think that like I don't know. I feel like I don't know. I don't think I felt frazzled or anything. I think I judging by like what the final product was, like I think everything turned out fine. Like if it was hectic, I didn't notice. Based on like the crew. I didn't notice anything if you guys felt that way.
Okay, that's great then.
Yeah.
I guess we're doing our job right.
Yeah.
Um, so how would you all compare yourself to your character? Do you think there's a lot of similarities there? Do you feel like you would never be that person?
I would say Sage and I are very similar. We both took a gap semester and we both like to sing and write. And it's funny because like that same year that we did quarter life, I also had a friendship breakup. And so it was like interesting to like portray that sort of a dynamic. And I also think, yeah, like with like Sage's mom is like her health is like a big aspect of her character, and my mom is a breast cancer survivor, so like that was something also that was I wouldn't say it was easy to portray, but like I think it was easier for me to connect to that aspect of the show. And yeah, I think like the gap semester, the mom dynamic, the friendship breakup, a lot of things connect me to Sage so much that I stole her name for my artist name when I make music. So yeah, me and Sage like that.
So, I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm not sick. Thank God I'm in good health. So, to start off with, I think it's the first time I've actually played a character with that impediment, right? And it's a big thing because and I remember asking you, I'm like, is this something that's visible? Is she masking it? Is she, so to think about all the many ways that like moms show up with their strength, but choosing to perform it at a point where it's not possible to mask it anymore, but just barely surviving and trying to maintain joy through that. Not something I can identify with directly. So I had to find ways to definitely tie into that. I mean, it was interesting, because it's like I say, it's not, I mean, like I was just coming out of being pregnant. So there is a kind of way of you reach vulnerability, your physicality changes, post birthing and so forth. But you don't feel it's not the same as being up against death, being up against what does it look like, if I have to depart from here, my child's still here. Like, who's going to ever love her the way that I do? Who's going to take care of her? Like, what if this is the last time I see her? But then, like, having these conflictual moments of like, I'm so incredibly weak that while I am focused on her and I'm worried about her and I want to know where she is, I don't even have the energy to, fight against that. That was all very not me, not correlated to anything in my personal life. Definitely that character. Leaning on, like, I think for me personally as an actor, wardrobing plays a big part in character development. I think, like, if you can find the little nuances just in the text, and then when you actually go into wardrobe, something about it, a good like wardrobe team or your own choices as an actor can really just like bring something else to the forefront that you can look at yourself and be like, yeah, it's not me. And to lean into, her physical appearance with the team and to just trust whatever the team did. Because I think that kind of correlated for me in performance to like, if you're sick, you have no control over how you're going to look because you don't know, what that's going to be like. And I think just us as humans, we're all, just as a woman, I'm like, I'm gonna wake up, I'm gonna put my makeup on, I'm gonna look good. I gave over to that because a part of me wanted to be like, she still tries her best to look good, And I'm like, but maybe no matter what she tries, she still doesn't because she doesn't feel well. So that was all very interesting and not in alignment with me. And I don't have I don't have adolescent children. So I feel like I have an old soul. So mom reads. I think I had the permission for once to really exist in that soulfulness that's connected a lot of times to nurture, which is connected to the mother archetype, which I don't always play. So yeah, I feel like those are the ones that pop up in a dynamic way as far as being like, did I relate or did I not, or the places that coexisted.
Well, a big difference between me and Forrest is I'm definitely not calling a girl that I like more than once. Um, Honestly, if you're not interested in me off the initial, I'll respect it. You probably won't hear from me again, and don't try to circle the block because yeah, too late. Back then you didn't want me, now I'm hot. Yeah, I know I'm hot. But other than that, I'd say there were a lot of similarities here between me and Forrest, simply because, like, when I was told who this character was, what he's all about, he's the goofy big brother who will kind of razzle you, in your free time, but like when you need him, he's absolutely there. I feel like that is often how I am described. And that's what I really enjoyed about this character is, yes, he is a goofball, but he's competent, right? Like he runs his own record store and he's able to organize open mic nights and things like that. So even if there's like quirkier sides, like, oh, he's down bad over a particular girl that he's pining for, and he really goes for that. He's more than capable of leading his own life. He's not a sad sack. He's not incompetent. He's not hapless. Like he knows how to get by in life. And that's what really made me connect to him. And that's how I kind of viewed him. Not like a goofy best friend, but truly like a big brother. So when Sage was going through her uncertainties about whether she should put the song out, whether she should release the song, that scene in episode 4 where he's like, if it feels authentic to you, it's going to be good. He's going to enjoy, people are going to enjoy it. Forrest can talk about that because Forrest is authentic. He might be silly, he might crack a joke, but he's able to get things through because he's authentic and he's able to rally people and make things go in his own life. And I pride myself on that as well. My friends, my family, there'll be times I make a joke and they'll be like, "Oh, why did you say that?" But when they're down bad and when they're like really going through things, I'm the person they come and talk to, and I know how to focus. Be like, "All right, here's what you got to do," because I've gotten myself through some not so good times in my life. I get myself through self-doubt and imposter syndrome on a regular basis, and I'm able to lead my life. Forrest is able to do that as well as be unhinged every now and again, or more often than people would expect. So that's what made it really easy to authentically connect to this character and play him truthfully because he is a human being. He is a person. He is not a caricature. That's how he was written. He is a human being with his own thoughts, his own way of getting through things. He uses humor as a way to balance things out, keep his friends on their toes, keep his friends happy. But that's how he gets through his own life, living in both of those realities. And that's how I live my life. I get through both of those realities. I live in both of those planes too. So this was the perfect character for me because it pretty much is me. And I thank Lauren for having the foresight to say, "Yo, Coleman, like, we'll let's audition you for this role, but I feel like I see this in you." And I thank Lauren and the directors for seeing that in me.
You're welcome, by the way. I'm getting like flashbacks of when we were casting and like talking about different ones, and like I would just remember you like blew us away in the audition. I mean, all of you did, but like I don't know. I'm gushing. So who's
You,
next?
yeah, you can't see it in my cheeks. I'm covering my face, but I am blushing right now. So thank you, Lauren.
You're welcome, Coleman.
I don't mind going next. I think that me and Brandon definitely had a lot of similarities and differences. I guess I'll start with the differences. He kind of reminds me of a younger version of myself who hasn't had a confrontation with his own ego yet, or like keeping his emotions in check, or like being empathetic towards what other people might be going through. And you kind of see that where he negatively reacts to Sage not wanting to perform X, Y, and Z, and kind of how he's taken back when he sees her mom for the first time at her door. So yeah, that definitely kind of resonated with like a younger Chris for sure. So similar but different at the same time. I think that both Brandon and I have dabbled in music as well, which kind of made playing his character a bit easier because like I've been to the studio. I know a little bit about it. Think that another one of our similarities, I've been told that I'm a flirtatious person, so I guess we both kind of share that same essence in a way. But it was definitely fun playing a Brandon character because I do feel like, for the most part, we had a lot in common.
I would say for me, I think me and Ripley had some similarities. I have a little sister, and so I kind of use that to kind of step into my character and think of Tyra as my little sister with like the way we joked around and things like that. And I also use that for kind of, I guess, justifying a lot of Ripley's emotions and how she wanted what was best for Sage in the show. So kind of like justifying like why I'm upset with her and why didn't you come talk to me? We're supposed to be close, that kind of thing. So yeah, I kind of use that. I don't think there were any differences really in our characters. Like I said, I think just justifying like why I would be upset in certain moments, but then turning it around and like being okay with it and just knowing like at the end of the day, I just want her to be happy and support her.
Okay, so it seems like for the majority, you guys were like, or you found like that connection between your characters, which I think rings through when watching the show. Especially, I don't know, rewatching it now and seeing everyone like it all felt believable, and I enjoyed watching you guys. Do you have any favorite moments, favorite lines, favorite scenes, or just like even moments now that you think about after watching it?
I think it was either at the end of the first episode or the beginning of the second episode. And I did this thing where like I like tapped the microphone, but like I kind of like it was just I think
Yeah.
it was really funny. Yeah, that was funny. And then Lauren, she played an open mic performer, and the line was like, "Oh my gosh!" It was like, "Damn it, Justine!"
God damn, you just did, my queen.
That was really funny. And then another favorite was when I am with Shayla and we are in the living room and we're like braiding my hair. I think that's like the first scene, right? Yeah, I think that was really beautiful. It was lit really well and it just looked really it was really beautiful. I think that's like that's my number one and then my number two is the mic tap. Yeah.
That's actually really dope to hear because I remember it not only as the first scene, Lauren, but it was the first scene we shot. And I remember getting the set and being like, so wait, we've had a discussion about like me braiding this person's hair. Like, is she comfortable? Like just, I mean, I'm a black woman, I grew up with my mom being like, don't you go to school and don't let nobody touch your hair. And I'd put your hair like this, you better come home the same way. And so, I know how I feel about my crown, but I remember that being a conversation like, no. Is she okay? Like, how could we do it? Can you guys half do it? Or am I styling it? Like, how are we approaching this? Does she have a way that she sees it, that she feels like she would realistically wear it? And it was literally how we met on set. It's like, all right, so you're gonna sit here, you're gonna sit between my legs, and we're gonna like braid hair. And that just thought that was just like, I'm like, yeah, if this don't connect us, like, I don't know, So that was definitely a good scene. My other favorite scene, it's been a minute since I've had time to actually rewatch the whole series, but out of the ones that my character were in, the kitchen table with her and Ripley, with the friend, I just thought was, I don't know, I was just like, it really made me feel like a mom. Like I was just like, oh, like they have this feud. I don't know what's going on. Let me let them work it out. And that was just such a interesting place to be because yeah, I don't know, it was just interesting. So I like that scene a lot.
For me, it's got to be the finale, right? Like it's got to be Sage getting on stage, doing her song again, everything coming together perfectly. The lighting, the setup, the different shots, the different characters, like everyone's face is just like, boom, she's got it, right? Like all the episodes 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 just all came together. You can see how she's worked through her self-doubt. She's worked through her, stage fright and all that, but just also how personal the song is to her and how she's just not afraid to let it out. And every character who she's connected with, who she's expressed worries about this, worries about that, all they're all getting to see her grow up in real time in front of everybody, in front of that audience. You're getting to see her perform, you're getting to see everyone's reactions and whatnot. It's just the culmination of everything. That's when you really start to appreciate the characters and in the series because you can see how proud they are of her, their individual journey. Some people are nodding their head. Some people are just sitting looking like, wow, there she is. That was my favorite scene.
I think mine was the first scene that I shot on set with Tyra, which was when I was like, my character was packing to go off to school, and it was just us two. And that was like my first like official thing I've ever shot, I think, on camera for acting wise. And so it's memorable, but it was also really fun, I think, going back and forth with Tyra and just watching everyone on set and having I forget who in the crew it was, but they were like sitting on the floor in the back. It was just fun to like see all that kind of stuff behind the scenes. But yeah, that was my favorite.
I'd say my favorite scene is either when Brandon was in the studio with Sage. I think that it required such a strong performance from Tyra and I to kind of, have those emotions on display. And another one of my favorite scenes was when Brandon handed the flash drive to Tyra's mom, Sage's mom. I'm sorry. I think that was a good scene as well because I guess he kind of realized the gravity of like how he was acting, which ultimately led him to apologize.
The character that Coleman played, what's the name again?
Forrest.
Forrest. So I hadn't seen anything else, right? I wasn't in any other, with the except of the final scene, of her giving her performance, Sage giving the performance. I hadn't seen anybody else except for the friend that bought the thumbnail. So when I saw everything together and I finally watched the piece, I was just like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know there was this comedic aspect, written into the story. So I thought like all of Forrest's scenes were really dope. And I was just like, who's this actor? How come we weren't on set together? So I thought that those scenes were amazing.
Yeah, maybe Quarter Life Crisis season 2, Forrest will come to annoy Sage's mom, but also get Sage's mom to embrace him as well, kind of like he did with Sage.
That's actually really funny. Your characters don't I don't think your characters don't ever interact, which was I think one of the things that we were like, "Oh, what is there a way that we could get them to?" But then we never did. So I guess it would be a season 2 situation. So, what did you learn from just being a part of this project?
I'm gonna start this one off because I don't know, no perceptions of the outside, but sometimes you're in your head, right? To trust myself more. And I think as actors, like you think sometimes that's gone. You're just like, no, I trust myself. Like I've arrived at the work enough to trust that like whatever you got, go in and just live it out. And then you do it. And sometimes you feel like, did I even do it? Like what behavior, like what was really shown? You know what I mean? And you have to wait until you see the end product. And once you see the end, you're just like, oh wow. And maybe it felt like nothing. Maybe I felt like I could have given more, maybe, all these things, but it's just kind of like, just keep trusting.
I think for me, what I learned is how to keep things moving at a not at a swift pace, but at a organized pace, right? Like you don't want to have to go take for take for take for take for take for take for take on something that should be relatively straightforward. And it's like, okay, once you do the thing, move on to the next scene, move on to the next phase, right? You really do have a finite amount of time on set with each scene or each shot. That's why there's a shot list, right? You got to stick to that. Even in comedic scenes or comedic based projects, there may be slight room for spontaneity, but it can go downhill very, very, very quickly. Not from a is it good or not standpoint, but from a does this fit standpoint, especially in projects that are going to be higher budget and cost more. Simply having people on set, having the set open will cost more, cost more money. So the more efficiently you can get through things, the better it is. So that's something that I learned as well. Is like once you got the shot, boom, move on. Once you got the scene, boom, move on. That efficiency is really, really important. And it's good that NYU literally calls this TV boot camp because it's like this is something you're going to have to learn. It's more than just the writing and directing and the performing and the lines and the words. It's moving things along to where you can stay on budget and stay on pace. So that was really, really helpful for me as well, and something that I got more on this project than in other student run productions that I've been a part of.
I think for me, back then, having being a new actor and this being like the first kind of like official production and TV show that I've done, I think it's like a combination of what Shayla and Coleman said. So like trusting yourself, but also, when the scene is done, don't overthink. And so that's something like you learn, especially as actors, like you shouldn't plan a lot of the things that you feel, like your emotions or whatnot. Like trust yourself, trust the other actors that you're in the scenes with. And then when a scene is over, like don't overthink, like move to the next one. But also I think just have fun. I mean, also as actors, you want to obviously give a good performance and you want it to be good and you want to obviously make sure you're hitting your time and your points and all of that kind of stuff. But at the end of it, I mean, for me at least, I love acting because it's a way for me to step out of myself into someone else and to have fun. Like it's a way for me to express myself in a fun way. So looking back on it, as long as I'm like, I love that experience and I had so much fun, which I did with QLC. I think that's really one of the most important things that I've learned and taken away from that. Especially, moving into all the other things I've done afterwards and the things I'm gonna continue to do. So
I would say for me, I think the biggest thing I learned was just like the learning the logistics behind making a TV show. I think I don't know why I expected the scenes to be shot like in order, like chronologically, but I'm pretty sure like some days we would like do scenes from one episode, then another would be from a different one, right? Yeah, so like I think just like learning the logistics behind it was one of the bigger things that I learned on set.
Yeah, I definitely kind of agree with everybody. I think that as a first time, project for me, it was a lot that goes into it in terms of organizing and planning everything out, filming different episodes based on their location at the same time and all of that. And it made me realize like how on point I need to be being selected for that role. And it kind of put into perspective what acting kind of looks like. And it's kudos to you guys for, putting it together. I'm definitely grateful to have been a part of that and got to see like what filming is.
Do you have any advice for actors, artists, people in their 20s, people going through their quarter life crises?
I'll go. I would say a word of advice would be if you don't see roles for yourself, make your own. I feel like we have like there's a lot of different ways to go about storytelling now. I think personally, I feel like Gen Z, like my little segment of Gen Z, we had like a great like media upbringing. Like I feel like we witnessed the rise of like YouTube and like all of that. So I feel like at least for me, like I grew up knowing that there was a space for me like in the media like storytelling world. And so I've kind of always like been building a platform for myself. So I would say a word of advice would be like if you don't see any roles out there that resemble you or your story, that doesn't mean that you can't have any. You can literally make it yourself. Like Issa Rae did Awkward Black Girl before she did Insecure, and so many other people as well had their start on like YouTube, and like now I think the thing is like streaming. So I guess I don't know. I personally don't want to be a streamer, but I get why people do. But yeah, like make your own story if you don't see it already being told. And yeah, I would say yeah, I would say that's my word of advice.
I would say run your own race and go for it. A lot of times in this generation we get caught up in like what someone else is doing or how far they've made it. And we also get caught up in like second guessing ourselves and our own abilities. So I would say like don't compare, yourself to any outside influences or anyone else's progress and just stay true to what you're passionate about, what you're good at, and one foot in front of the other, set your goals and go for it.
So I think what I will contribute to this as a 30 and now 31-year-old, I'll be 32 in April, so I've long since passed my quarter life crisis, is that cringe and uncertainty is a part of the journey, right? Like when if you're in your early or your mid 20s and you kind of feel like, wow, I don't know what I'm doing, that's literally how it is supposed to feel. You're moving at a perfectly normal rate. Don't feel like, oh, I'm supposed to know this, or I'm supposed to know that by now. Because when I look back on my early and mid 20s, I thought I had it figured out, and I bumped my head over and over and over, not just when it came to acting, when it came to just social interactions and whatnot, and how to talk to people, how to make an impression upon people, how to not beg for people's attention, how to make friends, and how to make an impression on people without imposing myself upon people, right? And I was really, really awkward back then. And I felt shame for it. I'm like, wow, others don't feel this awkward. Others don't feel this weird. Others know what they're doing. Come to find out, neither did they, right? And so you don't get to a point of being confident and being sure of yourself and what you like to do, how you like to interact, the pace you like to interact, whether you're introvert or extrovert, right? You don't learn these things until you make mistakes and then you learn from them, right? So if you feel like I shouldn't feel this way, others don't feel this way, trust me, they do. They're just not telling you about it. And they for dang sure ain't posting it on social media, because social media is a highlight reel, right? So mistakes are part of the journey. At some point, you will get to a point where you understand things better and you are more confident, because that confidence is just, I messed up here, I messed up there, I messed up here, I messed up there. I'm going to continue messing up. But then you reach a point where you have grace for yourself. So learn to have that grace for yourself much, much early on, and in that confidence, because you'll set yourself up for when you get to your 30s, right? That's when things really start going, and you'll really have the confidence to know who you are, know that you can make mistakes, and know that you can move forward. So embrace the cringe right now. Embrace the times you bumped your head and all the little knots and little bruises you got on your head, because that's what prepares you for life. And you are exactly where you are supposed to be right now, and everyone else is there as well. So don't run from it.
I would just reiterate what I said before. Don't overthink. Continue to try new things. Continue to make mistakes, or just, I don't know. I think just have fun. Have fun trying new things within acting. So if this is for actors, then that's what I would say. And have fun.
I'm kind of like breathless for a moment, like, and speechless, honestly, because I never even knew, like, when I was like, quarter life crisis, like, what? What are they out here panicking about? They just started. So, taking that in, I would say to anyone who feels like they're going through a quarter life crisis, one of the most wise lessons I've learned, there's two. In acting, my acting coach and instructor and teacher used to always say, what you know about acting can fill a thumbnail. And I don't forget that ever. And I'm a bit in now. And in terms of at least being familiar with being on set, I'm really starting to understand what it means to read text, to take it off the paper, to work when you're not working, to exist, to listen with your body in ways that are not just your ears, like it, and it's never ending, right? And the second, so what just always remember that what can only fill a thumbnail. So that way, when you show up to set, you're always in a place of being open to learning, which for me, like, I feel like I'm the oldest one on the crew, and from a different generation, like to listen to Tyra say, like, yeah, I grew up in a generation where like it seemed accessible. I never felt like it wasn't accessible. To me, is like, yo, that's so dope. I didn't grow up in that generation. I grew up right on the cusp. So it's like, yo, that's wild. I'm an 80s baby. For us, it was still a locked out kind of industry, and we were watching it change, but we were really already coming of age when that was happening. The other is something I'll say I learned just through living life, through birth, is begin to understand and unpack these cyclical cycles of life and death. They happen all the time around us. If you live in an area where you're blessed, like New York, if you live in the Northeast or, some of the East Coast, you're blessed to see all four seasons. There's a cycle of death and life happening all the time. And so let's say with quarter life crisis, what's happening is you're arriving to your own idea of adulthood. So you're kind of going through a death of like, okay, I've done all these things that maybe people told you to do, or you felt like doing, oh, I'm doing the right thing. I finished college, or I'm doing this or whatever, but you're kind of being reborn again. And it's going to happen over and over and over. And so the more that you can get familiar with that, it will make all of life easier. And so as an artist, it'll bleed into that. And just as a human, it'll bleed into that. And into, the confidence in life, you won't be afraid to let shit go because you know that it's not the end.
I would like to add to that. I think, like, in addition to that, I think, like, having the role of sage was very important because I think it was at a time when I was sort of like it was like my own personal artistic renaissance. I had started NYU as a communications major, and then that semester that we did Quarter Life Crisis, I was starting my new major in collaborative arts. So I think in the idea of like the cycle of life and death, in order to reach your most authentic self, I think you have to be willing to face hard truths about yourself. Like for me personally, I think one of the reasons why I didn't pursue, I guess, the arts as a major when I initially started school is because like I had this innate fear of being seen, which is weird because like I had a YouTube channel since like forever. But like letting people see me on a personal level was absolutely terrifying. But I think when that started to kind of like fall away and like I realized the reason why I was afraid of being seen and like faced that trauma, I think it was sort of necessary for me to kind of express myself through art and let it be released into the world. Because I think I sort of grew up like silencing myself and like being silenced and kind of being like a shell of myself. But once I started to like put the pieces back together, I think now I feel like I'm a much more authentic person. Yeah, I'm gonna stop talking because I'm going to cry. So
That's so sweet. Even you talking about like the YouTube channel thing, because that was something we also share. It was like we were both like YouTubers back in the day. I mean, I guess still now, but just like that change that you go through from especially like high school where you think you're starting to learn about yourself and you think you know everything and you think you'll be shy and awkward forever. And then you move into college and it's like an unraveling. You become like a whole new person and you're around so many different people and you're not going to the same classes with the same people. Like it's not the same like cycle over and over again. It's something new every semester. And I think being in the arts helps a lot with coming out of your shell and becoming a new person. And I don't know, acting, performing, creating, I feel like it's so important when it comes to wanting to make a change or wanting to become more confident in yourself. How was watching the complete show and what are you up to now since the show is wrapped?
I'll go. So I really enjoy watching all the episodes. I still have to finish. Well, I've seen like a lot of the edits before it was released on YouTube, but I'm just like really proud. I think it's really beautifully done. What I'm working on now, I'm actually working on an album, which is exciting. That is what I did for my senior capstone project. So I'm like working on mixing it now. So that's working on, and I'm also working on practicing for my auditions for grad school. I only applied to schools that are tuition free, so fingers crossed. Yeah, that's it. Grad school and my album and finding some income in the meantime. Because I think grad acting programs are like practically all day. So we got to figure that out.
Maybe finding remote work or something or
Yes,
like a
yes,
weekend job.
exactly.
I guess watching the show, I watched the show and being a new mom, I feel like I was like, oh, I just wanted to see like how all the scenes came together. So I feel like I watched the show kind of like in a rush kind of way. So I'm actually really happy to be able to revisit it. Plus, I watched it in its raw cut, so which is going to be again really cool to me because I get to see again how you all finished coloring, how like I keep hearing Tyra talk about like the scene and how it was lit. And I'm like, something's different about it. I got to go watch it. And since then, I actually had to pause. And like I said, I'm at work, I also work. So my bread and what I call a bread and butter, or some people call it meat and potatoes, to pay my bills. And I have my kids. My kids are 2 and 4. So it's been a very active 2 years. And so I've had to pause everything everything. I've paused even my commercial stuff. I'm like, I just don't have the energy to go on camera. I can't dedicate the time needed to it, which has been interesting because it's the first time really in my career, which is now like at, I would say consistently at about 15 years. It's the first time that I gave like a hard, like, no, I'm booking out. I'm just not in a season of life where I can show up. And that was hard. But I'm realizing that I'm actually in a downloading phase. I'm learning so much more about new types of relationship connections and new types of behavior. And then today I actually got a chance to read on the train, which I haven't done in a while. And I was happy because I get to start revisiting text. So I'm like, oh, now I get to go back to my plays I like. I get to go back and I just feel like I'm starting all over. And it's a really interesting feeling. But I am happy to have worked with you all because I think there's a lot to be learned from youth, just like there's a lot to be learned from those who are seasoned, and just like there's a lot to be learned from your contemporaries. So I feel like we talk about DEI a lot, and people take DEI and they kind of smush it into just this one kind of thing. But diversity and equity extends beyond just our ethnic backgrounds. It's about ageism. It's about crossing cultures. It's about diversifying your community, and learning from people and existing with them.
Watching the show back, not just from a narrative standpoint and from like an acting, writing, and directing standpoint, but just a visual standpoint. I think if I remember correctly, when Lauren was discussing like how we wanted the show to look, kind of like the show Bible and whatnot, Euphoria came up, and Euphoria is an incredibly visually polished show, right? Like you're not just listening to these characters, you are looking at them, you are looking in the set that they're in, you are really wrapped up in this world. And looking back at the final cut of this and watching this play out on YouTube, Quarter Life Crisis is definitely in that vein of you are in the world. You're not just listening and seeing, you are experiencing. So, incredible visual polish, that definitely speaks to how well lit the show and the sets already were. You can't color grade that. You can't fix that in post, right? Like that has to be done like on the spot. So very well done there. Just an incredible, impressive show all around from a technical standpoint. Everything was well done. As far as how life has gone post Quarter Life Crisis, I have signed with the talent management company, ATN Entertainment. I did sign with that company while the actor strikes were happening, and existing in this like post actor strike economy of acting, things have been very few and far between. And as far as auditions go, and just submissions in general. So that was kind of like that was a reality check as far as like, boom, here everything goes, boom, actually no. And that's been humbling in and of itself. But as I talk about taking it easy on myself, taking it kinder on myself, I realize that it's not necessarily a reflection of me and what I can or can't do. There are things outside of my control. And a lot of what we're taught in acting classes and seminars is, what do you do when the business is not going in your direction, going the way that you want it to? We wrap so much of our identity in the business. How do you find identity outside of that? Proud to say that has gone well. I have gotten my certified personal trainer's license. Fitness has been a big part of my life. Before I became an actor, while I became an actor, I'm now working at a gym and finding a lot of my happiness within that. How that's been going, training different clients, having a career, having a life outside of acting has really helped me stay stable in it, because knowing that I have a life and an identity outside of acting brings so much more to my characters, right? Like, my role as Forrest, like I said, this was me. Like being able to meet this character in so many different points was because I had a life outside of acting. I have an identity outside of it. So being able to maintain that and affirm that just lets me know that when things do start picking up, when the industry does recover and more things do start flowing my way, I'll be able to know what to do with the opportunities that I got. A lot of what happened when I first started acting was I was just throwing myself into things, but not really understanding who I was or what to bring to these things. And having personal training, having sales experience, right? Having my friends and, how I dress and like my personal time, like knowing who I am outside of the business and having a life outside of the business brings so much more life into it. So just reaffirming who I am and what I like outside of acting when things aren't flowing in as much as I would like for them to, just gives me more confidence that the next time I do have an audition, it's going to be to whether I book the audition or not. They're going to be like, hey man, Coleman, they really love that. That's the feedback that I got from the auditions that I did get. And so just being more firmly rooted in who I am outside of the business will only strengthen me as an actor. So I'm kind of like whatever's treating me well in the moment is where I'm going to go towards. But I know that I've got one foot in and one foot out, but I've got a strong, firm foot no matter where I am. And I'm really content and happy with where my life is right now because I'm well fed outside of the artistic realm as well as within.
Yes, that was a good one.
I would say for me, watching the show back, like everyone else said, it's nice to see like the different edits that you guys made and also like the final scenes of all the other scenes that I wasn't in. I also don't think I had any scenes with Forrest, so it was nice to see him and kind of how everything came together in the final. And then since then, I mean, right now I'm in the middle of wedding planning, which is taking up 100% of my time besides full-time working. So it's been kind of sad the past few months to not do anything kind of, like on screen, but I have been doing a lot of reading, a lot of seeing my other acting friends, the things that they're in, their plays and things, going to those. I took a Shakespeare class, which is really fun and it kind of like opened my eyes to a lot of different things. So reading a lot of sonnets and so kind of learning as much as I can. Like Sheila said, like downloading. I love that word. I feel like I'm downloading as much information so that when I get back into it, I feel like I can start fresh and kind of, go into it with a new kind of look at everything. I also did my first theater play this past year, which is really fun. So I'm really into the theater now. I love theater. So I'm just really excited to get back into all of that.
I've also noticed you've been, because I follow your TikTok and I follow your YouTube channel and I follow your Instagram page.
Oh, thanks.
I'm like low-key a fan. Because especially with the crocheting, because I was like, okay, like
Oh, yeah.
your crocheting has, so I remember when you first started, and then now it's
Oh
like
my God.
taken
That's so
off.
funny.
And I'm like, I'm a fan.
Yeah, thank
Yeah.
you. I really love anything artsy related. It's kind of like my outlet to, I don't know, like just everything. So I started crocheting like last year. It's really funny that you said that. So yeah, crocheting is like a huge thing that I'm doing right now as well. It's just fun. It's like relaxing and kind of gets me, out of if I'm like in a weird place or I just need like alone time. I just love crocheting. And it's like so fun to figure out all the things you can create. Like acting is one thing. It's like, oh, I've created this like Quarter Life Crisis. Like I see myself on screen. It's like we've created such a great show with great characters, but crocheting is different because it's like once I finish something, I'm like, I created this with my own two hands. And it's like it's physical and it's right here. And then I give a lot of my things as gifts to people. And it's so nice to like see how that's made them happy and like little kids and stuff like that. So I love it brings like another like emotion to it, another like happy emotion that I could do that. But yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. I love that. Chris.
Yes, I would say I definitely enjoy watching the show a lot. I watched it a couple of times. Great presentation visually, and with about Euphoria, to piggyback on what Coleman was saying, I've actually showed it to like a couple of friends, and I take a lot of pride in the fact that they said, "Oh, this looks like Euphoria visually," without me even giving them like any of the inspo that was dedicated to it. So that kind of shows me that like it was a great job. It was a great job. I'm a little hypercritical of my own performance, so sometimes watching it, it's cringe for me personally when I'm watching myself and myself only. But aside from that, definitely easy to watch. I love it, and I take great pride in being a part of it for sure. What's new now, I kind of taken just a full stop on my life creatively. I'm working with special needs kids as a teacher's assistant right now. Just because, like Tyra was saying, prioritizing income has become more of a focal point. I'm also in school now, studying to become a speech language pathologist. So with my schedule, it's kind of hard to incorporate everything that I want to do creatively. I still believe that there is enough time in the day. It's just like finding that discipline to take care of myself, mentally, physically, and to, get that output is something I'm still working on because I definitely don't want to just push it to the side forever because it is something I'm passionate about. But yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at.
It's great to hear from all of you and hearing about what you're doing now. And it's so crazy. I don't know. I'm thinking, I mean, I'm not a mother, anything like that, but like it kind of feels that way when you think about it. Um, and just seeing my babies, even though y'all are not my babies and you're not babies, seeing you grow up like like I raised you or something. It's great seeing you now. I'm glad all of you are doing well. And thank you for coming on today. Do any of y'all have any last thoughts or things you just want to know or whatever? Anything that you're promoting too? Like if you just want to be like, hey, this is coming up or whatever.
I wanted to just say, can you connect us all in email? Because there's people whose contacts I don't have, and I don't get to spend a lot of time on social lately. So I'm like, yeah, I don't, know what people are up to. But I do have a community of, I guess you could say, like fellow actors that I've studied with and so forth. And they have like cold reads, or we get together to kind of create ensembles and so forth, so that people can just keep exercising while they're, building lives or maybe not auditioning or whatever, just to build community. So I can add you guys to that newsletter.
Yes,
I
thank
would love
Oh,
that. That'd be
I'm also
that.
writing.
Yeah.
I've written some stuff. I've got two pieces. I have one short and one feature, which is crazy because I know some people don't do that. Some people just do shorts, and then once they accomplish a short, then they're like, I'm gonna do a feature. But the story is just too long for the feature. I have to go feature. It's just too long, unless it's a series, and I don't want to dive into a new structure yet. But I hope to be able to get back to those this year and to complete them. So, I'll share.
Yes, please. I love that. I'm excited to hear about these ideas, especially for the features. That's awesome.
I would love to be added to your group. That sounds fun. I would say, oh, I have a very cutesy and gay and coming of age film that I did in May that I've been rewatching because I am yearning and losing my mind, but in a good way. In a good way. But yeah, it's called Zora and Bee, and it's very cute and fun that I wrote, starred in, and directed. That you should watch. It's on YouTube. And also, I make music. My name on platforms is Sage Solaris, and my debut album will come out in March. So stay tuned for that.
Yes. Coming out for your birthday or like,
It'll be a few days after my birthday.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, I have nothing to promote except some just some general like fitness advice for keeping yourself nice and loose because as we get into the quarter life crisis, we enter our 30s, everyone's like, "Oh my God, I'm getting so old." That will not happen if everybody just does 15 body weight squats throughout the day. Literally just start your day by down one, down two, get your knees parallel 90 degrees, and then go back up. You literally just keep your joints nice and healthy and loose and fit that way. I mean, we live in a walkable city. We're always moving somewhere, and someone's always saying, my this hurts, my that hurts. You don't need a $100 gym membership to keep yourself loose and moving. You might not necessarily have the body that you want, but you can at least move and feel confident about going throughout your very busy lives, which we all have. So yeah, 15 body weight squats a day. That's a great starting point for anyone to just not feel tight and loose, and you'll feel better.
I love that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that. My joints are always cracking. Even if I do
Yeah.
squats. So that's just me though.
Well, today will be the day that it hurts. Like today, this is what I always tell people. Today will be the most that it ever hurts. Tomorrow it'll hurt less. Tomorrow it'll hurt less. Your knees might crack, but you won't tear your Achilles. You know what I mean? So just
Yeah.
use it or you'll lose it.
Chris, Amanda, do you guys have anything? It's okay if not.
No, not really. I mean, if anyone wants to follow me on TikTok and Instagram, it's at starringamandaa. You can see my crochet stuff and my content creation and wedding stuff if I post it. But yeah.
Nice. Congratulations again.
Thank you.
Yes, please post if you can. I know it's like
Okay.
really busy, but I
I
love
know.
it.
I have a lot of crochet stuff to post because I did Christmas gifts, so I didn't want to post it before I gave everyone their gifts. So a lot more of that's coming.
And Chris, you're
Yeah, all good. All good.
okay. But thank you all for coming today. Hopefully for those watching, you got a little bit more insight on just not just them as characters, but these people who genuinely felt for these characters and brought them to life and also have lives of their own. So please like, please subscribe, please share, and please tune into Quarter Life Crisis if you have not already done so. It's a fun time. Peace out. Don't be a fool in school because it's not cool. And I'll see you all in the next video. Bye.